Super Draco here, and welcome back to Build Optimus Prime. So, picking up from last time, we had built the pinky finger, and the thumb, and one other finger. So we still have two more fingers to build, so we're just going to go through that really fast because the three other fingers have the exact same build as the pinky finger, they're just a little bigger. So I'm not going to make you sit through like 5 minutes of fast forwarding as I build the last finger. So we've seen this build before. Nothing's new, so once this one's over, we'll jump over to the new stuff. Okay, and so with that done, now we've got all the fingers done, so we're just going to cap the glue and appreciate all the work we did. So 3 of the exact same finger, the pinky, and then the thumb. So let's move on. Okay, so next we need parts 3-26 and 3-14, and then so these two parts we're going to attach together with two 2x5mm PB screws. So then we're going to drop the fingers in. So first off, thinking about this is the left arm, so you want the pinky on the far side, then the 3 identical fingers next to it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring in parts 3-30 and 3-31, and they're going to hold everything in place. Okay, so parts 3-30 and 31 will both be held in with a single 2x6mm PWB screw. So 31 will actually go on the left hand side. There's a couple of locating, you're going to actually use the pegs on the fingers themselves as locating pegs. So if it's not lining up, then you've clearly got the wrong part. And I gotta admit, this is actually clever design. I just think the only criticism I have is I think they could have stamped a 30 or a 31 onto one of these parts. Alright, so now that it's on the pegs and it's holding itself in, so then we're going to secure it down with the screw. Now normally I say you don't want to over tighten screws going into plastics, but because of what the hands actually have to do, you want this one fairly tight. Now as we install part 3-30 on the opposite side, these parts actually let the hand, it also is going to give added articulation so the hands can splay open. That's a problem with figures with articulated hands, like HasLab Unicron suffers from this. He has the big, fully articulated fingers, but because they can't splay open, his hands never look natural. Okay, with that, well, now I'm bringing in my other screwdriver just to make sure that this is as tight as I can get them. Like I said, you don't want to, you risk breaking plastics, but again, with the forces that the hand's going to experience, you want these tight. So next we're going to flip it over and then we're going to bring in the thumb. There are two holes that the pegs from the thumbs are going to kind of socket into, and then we're going to lock it down with two 2.3 by 6 millimeter PB screws. Okay, so on the other side, we're going to mount part 3-29 also with a 2.3 by 6 millimeter PB screw. And that just fills out his palm a little bit. So then we need part 3-32 and the metal joint 3-51. And basically, there's a hole on 332 and the joint's going to slide into it in a specific orientation, which is much easier said than done. So you would think because it's shaped, it's going to be real easy to get it in there, but the tolerances on this are, it's not bad, it's just really, really close to being too small. And with enough finger strength and determination, it's in.
It's all about finger strength, baby.
So then we're going to bring in parts 3-24 and then 3-25, and those mount around that joint. Now the ends are shaped to only fit one specific way. And that is incorrect. So I'm going to flip the one side over, and that is how it's supposed to fit. So then we're going to bring in the hand. Okay, so that's going to go into the top of the hand, and this is actually going to form his wrist joint. So what this does is it rests on those two sockets, and then we're going to mount it all together with two 2.3 by 6 millimeter PB screws. And my stellar camera work is really shining on this one. Now, I'm not quite as sold on how stable this is going to be because, you know, there's that it's only surrounded on 3 sides and it's not a full-on port. But it's also possible maybe the extra material kept breaking or compromised stability. That is possible because there's always a sweet spot where there's too much of a good thing. Okay, with that done, then we're going to bring in part 3-27, which is the cover for the top of the hand. Now, you're supposed to glue this in at 4 points. Now, I'm actually giving it a test fit. And for me, it actually snapped in. So, you know, I could pop it apart and glue it, but since it literally snapped itself together, I'm just going to wait and see on that one. So this could be a good stopping point, but I think we'll go ahead and we'll finish the wrist joint. So next we need parts 3-23 and 51. So 51 is that silver joint. It can only go in one way. And then 23 is shaped so it can only fit around the silver joint in one way. Again, this is very, very tight. That's what she said, but I'm not putting Millhouse in this video. But once it's all the way on, so then we're going to bring in parts 3-20 and 22. So 20 being the larger part is just going to sandwich around part 23 on the end of that joint. And my spectacular camera work never fails to impress. So once we have it sandwiched all together, now the problem is, as you can see, I don't have that joint, the 23, far enough down on the joint for this piece to sit properly. So I'm going to correct that after I get some screws. So once again, we're going to try and sandwich them together. Whoops. Scared the life out of me. So now I'm going to push this as far down as I can manage. And again, see if I can get them to line up. So now I'm just going to use my table to push it even further down. I am cheating because sometimes technique is better than finger strength. Okay, with that slid down as far as I can possibly manage it, we're going to once again bring in part 3-20, and this time it's actually fitting together properly. So then we're going to fix it together with two 2x6mm PWB screws. Thankfully, unlike Bismarck, the screws in this model are actually labeled, so it's a lot easier to keep track of. Okay, with that done, then we're going to bring in part 3-22 after I adjust the tightness on these screws. So I'm going to fiddle with it and or never mind, I guess I did that after the fact. So 22 will just clip in like so. And then we're going to bring in part 21 that closes the whole thing up. And then it'll all mount together with 4 more 2.3 by 6 millimeter PB screws. And with this final screw, we've basically completed the hand and the wrist. I'm just going in there to tighten everything up as much as possible. Again, where these joints are, you want them to be as secure as you can make them. Because you got to think about it, the hand's going to be bending and rotating. So anyhow, I think this is a good stopping point. So thanks for watching. Check out my fantasy story on Fiction Press. 6 chapters live. 7 is currently being written. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you for part 3.